questions at the end. I should just preface to say that this is a bit special for me. I went to Queens and had some really nice memories of living in Kingston. And so happy to be virtually back anyway. Tim and I are here to speak about what we call Greenbox. And this is a simple, hassle-free solution that can cost-effectively reduce carbon in single-family homes. We're very excited about this. Tim and I are very passionate about the need to reduce carbon. And we've developed this presentation and the solution as a way to help people understand what the options are. I think there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And so we're hoping that through this presentation, we can demystify heat pumps and hopefully help you all along your journey to reduce carbon in your own personal lives. So we're here to talk about carbon, of course, and it's a big challenge. And the single family home retrofit sector is one of the hardest to address. Of course, millions of homes, each one is a little different, and some of the solutions can be quite costly to implement. Having gone through a partial renovation of my house, it's quite expensive, and not everyone is able to do that for various reasons. But we still have this issue, this carbon problem. The chart here gives you a bit of an idea of where the carbon is coming from in a typical home. Your vehicle, if you have a gasoline powered vehicle, and you're driving 15,000, 20,000 kilometers a year. Of course, during COVID, maybe that didn't happen, but in a typical year, your emissions, that's going to be the dominant part of your emissions. But as far as your home goes, we spend a lot of time talking about electricity, but really it's the natural gas used in your home for space heating and for hot water that are by far the dominant, and really it's space heating. So Tim and I, we've really been focused on coming up with solutions that address space heating in homes as a way to drive down carbon. And so here's our solution. We call it Greenbox, and it can dramatically cut your household carbon. In many cases, it will actually improve comfort in the home, and it will save money over the long term. We also really wanted to develop a solution that was straightforward and hassle-free for customers to implement. So we call it Greenbox. It's really a heat pump, an air source heat pump, and this is what it looks like. What makes this solution a little bit different than what I think a lot of people think about when they think about a heat pump is we are talking about a heat pump that can both heat and cool your home. It can do it very efficiently, and it will work in conjunction with your existing gas furnace. Now, this heat pump, if you're replacing an air conditioner with a heat pump, it will be roughly $3,000 incremental cost over just replacing it with another air conditioner. The big benefit, of course, is that it will reduce your carbon, and we'll show you some results we're seeing from installations so far. But we're seeing a reduction in household carbon of up to 75%, so very significant, and it does not require a full home retrofit. And I'll show you how this works. The Greenbox and this heat pump reduces carbon by replacing or substituting for the natural gas you would normally use for most of the hours of the year you would need heating. So the heat pump will run most of those hours. You can see there in the green in the pie chart. And then your furnace, your gas furnace, will still be there, and it'll run on the coldest days of the year only. And that's how we end up with this up to 75% reduction in carbon. So here's how it works. When it's hot outside, your heat pump acts as an air conditioner. And in fact, for those of you who have air conditioners, it is a heat pump, but it only works one way. It can only provide cooling. What makes a heat pump such an incredible piece of technology is it has this reversing valve, it's called, which lets it provide cooling in the summer, but then it can also provide heating. So during, when it's cold outside, say during the fall or the spring, or during mild winter temperatures, your heat pump can very efficiently provide that heating. When it's very cold, and I know we had a bitterly cold February, your gas furnace will provide that heating. And just to give you an idea of the amount of hours that we're talking about, this is Kingston temperatures in blue for each hour of the year. And this data comes directly from Environment Climate Change Canada. I think there's a weather station in Kingston. So we took the data directly from there. And that red line is, we set it to 18 degrees. Typically a home under 18 degrees, when it's lower than 18 degrees, will need heating. And a typical home that has a gas furnace with an air conditioner, that's really kind of the dividing line. Every single hour below that red line is an hour that your home is emitting carbon. You're combusting natural gas to generate heat, and so you have carbon emissions associated with it. Now, if we change the game and instead replace the air conditioner with a heat pump, the dynamic totally changes. We end up with the vast majority of hours of the year. You can see there in that shaded area, which is from about -2 to 18 degrees, your heat pump is providing that heating. And every single one of those hours, you are achieving a reduction in carbon. And that's how we get such a significant drop in your emissions, in your household emissions. Above that yellow line, the heat pump would still provide cooling, just like your air conditioner would. Oftentimes, it would actually be much more efficient than an air conditioner that was installed, say, 15 or 20 years ago. Below that red line, when it's really, really cold, and again, we had a really cold February, then your gas furnace would be there to make sure that you stay comfortable in your home. So we've done a number of installations, and the first one we did was installed end of October. And you can see here, these are real results straight up from the Enbridge, their Enbridge account. And you can see there in the black columns is gas consumption for 2020. And then the orange is 2021. And you can see significant reductions in natural gas use, roughly 75% reduction. And that was in November and December. And even if we continue with January, February, March, and we're seeing it so far in April, although the month's obviously not finished yet, significant reductions. And we're seeing the same pattern with all the installations that we've facilitated over the last 6 months. So some of you might be thinking, well, this is great, fantastic, but isn't this going to increase my electricity bills? And isn't electrical heating expensive? Well, it used to be, but there's a few things that have changed and are different with the heat pump compared to, say, baseboard heaters, which most people are familiar with. So heat pumps are a different type of technology. They don't generate heat like a baseboard heater does or a gas furnace does. Rather, they concentrate heat and they move it around. And this is also how your fridge works. So we often think about our fridge as cooling the inside of the fridge. But actually what your fridge does, what the heat pump in your fridge does, is it concentrates the heat that's inside your fridge and pumps it out the back of your fridge. And that's why it's hot out the back. And then you end up with a cooler space inside your fridge. And that's exactly what a heat pump does. Even when it's cold, on a day like today, when it's say 6 degrees, 8 degrees, the heat pump will take the heat that is available outside and pump it in the house. And they're extremely efficient. They are much more efficient than a kind of a furnace or a baseboard heater, and they use far less energy as a result. The other thing that's really changed with electrical heating is the carbon tax. So as the carbon price keeps going up, and it hit roughly $50 a ton April 1st, we will see heat pumps and electrical heating be increasingly cost effective compared to natural gas. And this shows and this is based on very reasonable, even conservative assumptions, that you can see the price of gas is going to be increasing largely because of the carbon price, while the price of electricity we expect to stay fairly steady. And you can see there's a bit of crossover. There's a crossover point coming in the next few years. Well, when heating your home with electricity is actually going to be cheaper than heating your home with natural gas. Based on these assumptions, we expect this heat pump to pay itself back within roughly 10 to 15 years. So I want to caution here, this is not a get rich quick scheme. If you're looking for an immediate payback, there's probably better ways you can spend your money. If you are looking to reduce carbon and improve your home's environmental footprint, this is a very effective way for you to do that. As I mentioned earlier, we really wanted to come up with a solution that was easy and hassle-free for homeowners. And so this couldn't be simpler. The air conditioner on the outside of your house comes out and an air source heat pump goes in. The second thing that needs to happen, we strongly recommend a smart thermostat. Any smart thermostat will do. Ecobee, Nest, Emerson, Honeywell, any of them will do this. They need to have what typically they call dual stage heating. So they switch between gas, your furnace, and the heat pump based on outdoor temperature. The third thing that needs to happen is inside your actual furnace, there's a coil in there that needs to be switched out for one that can do both cooling and heating. But that's pretty minimal. It's not like your whole furnace needs to come out. There's like a panel and there's a coil in there that comes out and you put a new one in. So installation takes a few hours. There's no ripping out of walls or drywall. There's no running wires on the outside of your house. There's no kind of plumbing work, none of that. So this is an elegant solution that can be implemented. Now, we've given this presentation many times over the last 6 months or so. And so here's some common questions that we do receive that we thought it would be helpful to walk through. And so I'll just quickly run through them here. So if you're, people say, well, what if my furnace is old and, I need to replace my furnace anyway? So you have a choice here. If you're not ready to go fully electric, and look, there's no shame in that. For people who want to go full electric, that's great. But that does require some other changes beyond just your heating and cooling system. And we can talk about that a little bit more. So people who want to implement this system, we recommend you replace you put in a high efficiency furnace, and then you replace your air conditioner with a heat pump. And then you'll get a very efficient system, again, that can do Your heat pump provides the heating in milder temperatures, and you'll still have that gas furnace when it's really cold. If your air conditioner still works, but it's 10 years or more, we still recommend replacing it with a heat pump. Typically, air conditioners that are over 10 years, they tend to be a little bit less efficient, and it's already approaching end of life, and so you can replace with a heat pump, and rest assured you'll have a really good cooling and heating solution. If your furnace runs on propane or oil, this still works. So it doesn't just work with a gas furnace. It'll work with any kind of furnace. And again, you replace the air conditioner with a heat pump, and then you can continue using your furnace, your propane or oil furnace, just as you do when it's very cold out. If you don't have a forced air system, so there's no ductwork in your home, and my home is like this, I have hot water radiators. What you can do is install what they call ductless mini split or split unit heat pumps, and you end up with these an outdoor unit that looks like an air conditioner, and then inside you have these they're called headers or evaporator heads mounted in different parts of your home, and those can provide air conditioning cooling in the summer, and then heating in the winter or in the shoulder season when you need heating, like a day like today. They're very efficient. If you want to get off gas and you want to move to a fully electric system, that's definitely possible. You would put in an air source heat pump and put in what's called a cold climate heat pump that can work efficiently at even lower temperatures. And then you would be removing your furnace and installing what's called an air handler. And that air handler would draw all its cooling and all its heating from the heat pump. When it gets very, very cold, like sub -20, there is a small resistive, like electric baseboard essentially in the air handler that would provide that kind of backup heat if your air source heat pump can't handle those really, really frigid temperatures. Now, this solution does have other considerations. If people are interested, we can get into that in a little bit more detail. So our role in this, we've done a lot of groundwork, and our objective really is to, as I mentioned, kind of demystify heat pumps for people and walk homeowners through their options so that they can confidently speak with a heating and ventilation, air conditioning, and HVAC technician and insist on kind of the solution that makes sense for them. So we have vetted and shortlisted the most experienced experts in heat pump installation in Southern Ontario. So we work with roughly 10 contractors, and we're constantly reevaluating them based on customer satisfaction, based on cost of installs, and we are very confident in our network of contractors that we work with. We strongly recommend an initial screening call with any interested homeowners. And this is to ensure that we understand what their priorities are and where the limitations are, and then we walk through the options, what might work, what is desirable. And then if they're interested, we would make a recommendation for one of our trusted contractors to then visit the home and in person walk through it. And then if the homeowner is interested, that contractor would send a quote. We're dedicated to helping homeowners put together plans to reduce carbon. And we do a lot of work beyond just heat pumps. But heat pumps is something, again, we're very passionate about. But there are other things that you can do. For example, low carbon hot water through, there's heat pumps for hot water systems, solar, electric vehicle charging, and there's a lot more. So if you're interested in those things, happy to talk about that as well. And that's it. Right now, we are paying a referral fee for anyone that is happy with their system and refers us to somebody else. And we are really keen to speak with anyone interested about implementing heat pump. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. I think I neglected to introduce myself off the top. My name is Jeff Hendry, for anyone that missed the very beginning of this, and I'm the manager of communications and business development at Sustainable Kingston. And we were thrilled to host this webinar that is obviously, as I mentioned earlier, very timely. This is a great opportunity for some Q&A, and we're Cedric Pepelea, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Sustainable Kingston, is also on the call and is also a good person to speak to or ask questions to regarding the Better Homes Kingston program. We also have Soren Christensen, I see there. So we've got a few experts, local experts, with regards to home energy incentive programs. But if anyone has any questions for Richard or Tim, either unmute yourself or please feel free to put something in the chat. And here's our first question. Can you see the chat, Richard?
Yes, I can. Thanks for your question, Christy Taylor Louise. So maybe I'll just read it out just in case anyone can't see it or for whatever reason. So I was told by an HVAC person that there isn't a heat pump that works with our newer gas furnace and would qualify for a rebate under the federal Greener Homes program. From a smaller house with ductwork, is that a common problem where a compatible heat pump wouldn't qualify for rebates because it's a small house? Not sure what the case is for Better Homes. Thank you for your question. And yeah, it's unfortunate. There are some challenges with the Greener Homes grant. Now, there could be a heat pump that does work. It really is specific to each home. If your contractor that you had visit let you know that, you know, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, that's probably the case. However, it never hurts to get a second opinion. And depending on how experienced that contractor is with heat pumps, you know, one of the things that, and look, I have many friends that work in the HVAC sector, so I'm not maligning them, but I will say that not all HVAC contractors are familiar and experienced with heat pumps. Sometimes, and we've seen this, if you call up, you know, you open the kind of yellow pages or whatever, and you call up an HVAC contractor, you know, quite often they'll try and convince people to not put in heat pumps and instead just put in a gas furnace or just replace it with an air conditioner. And it's not that they're, you know, not, they're not evil or anything like that. It's just, you know, people do what they know, right? And if they're experienced working with more conventional equipment, that's what they're going to recommend. And so that's, again, one of the things that we do is we really only work with contractors that are very experienced working with heat pumps. The other thing I might add to your question with the Greener Homes Grant is, you know, it's always great when you see an incentive being offered, right? So, you know, $4,000 or $5,000, right? That's appealing. But with that program, a lot of the heat pumps that are part of that program are those cold climate heat pumps. And so you're gonna have to spend more money to buy that heat pump. There might also be some upgrades that are needed. For example, your ductwork sometimes needs to be upgraded or you know, expanded. And so you end up kind of in a situation where you're going to have to spend more money to get that incentive. And so it might be just more straightforward in some cases to just go with a kind of regular heat pump, very efficient, but can't go down in terms of you know, to very low temperatures, and then just forget about that incentive and just move forward with that implementation without going through that Greener Homes Grant. And I've gone through that Greener Homes Grant, it's not a straightforward process. So I feel your pain on that.
So I'll just jump in on that one as well. As we as Sustainable Kingston, we do deliver the Greener Homes program as well as the Better Homes as a Kingston program. And this topic on matching heat pumps is a very one that comes up a lot. And I just want to say that, as Richard mentioned, a lot of contractors will have specific ties to specific brands. And the Enercan Greener Homes program, the way it works is if you have a specific brand of furnace, you have to have a matching brand of heat pump to be compatible. And again, as a lot of contractors have specific relationships with specific distributors that only carry specific brands, they will likely say that there's no option for you because they do not carry that brand of heat pump that is compatible with your furnace. So again, that's where we as energy coaches through the Better Homes Kingston program will help guide you through that process, help identify contractors and HVAC contractors and heat pump installers that can potentially find a matching heat pump, and we will do that work for you. We'll go through the list, look at the model of a furnace that you have, and we will find the match, and then we will help you find a contractor that can get you a matching heat pump with that set. At the same time, as Richard mentioned, yes, there are a lot of cold climate heat pumps that are incentivized, and they do come at a premium cost in comparison. But a lot of these are also covered under the Better Homes Kingston program. So, for example, upgrading your electrical panel, if you're installing, an upgraded electrical service for an electric furnace, as well as a heat pump, which often requires, again, like a 200 amp service as opposed to 100 or 125. That is actually covered under the Better Homes Kingston program as well. So as well as all the ductwork modifications and other things that Richard mentioned. The other thing I will say, what's really interesting, especially when I'm coaching homeowners through this process, is when you can actually stack the incentives. So yeah, you're right, maybe 5,000 from Greener Homes doesn't take a big dent out of a $20,000 heat pump installation bill. But once you start stacking this with with Better Homes Kingston, you can get an additional $5,000 on top of the $5,000 you're getting from Greener Homes. So you can get a total of $10,000 in grants potentially for installing a heat pump, as well as say the remaining 10,000 can also be covered through a zero interest loan through the Better Homes Kingston program. So there are mechanisms there, and I fully admit the rules are very complicated and not ideal. But that's something that we specialize in here at Sustainable Kingston to really guide you through that process and really help maximize as many of the grants as possible, because they do make an impact, right? If you get $10,000 off, a $15,000 heat pump installation, that really affects the payback period, right? It can bring it down from 10 to 15 years down to 5 years, perhaps. So a lot of that is interesting. I think just going back to the question here in terms of a smaller house with ductwork, the size of the home, there's definitely a heat pump that would fit most sizes of homes. So even if you have a smaller home, there is definitely a solution there as well.
Perfect. Yeah, Cedric, absolutely. So we're on the same page with all that, and it sounds like the Kingston grant is definitely something that you should kind of look into. So the next question from Michelle Valla is your list of heat pump installers available to the public? So it is not. That's one of the things that we guard quite closely. Partly because it kind of changes, and we need to always make sure that we're making that the right recommendation depending on the situation. So we really prefer to have that initial screening call with homeowners that are interested, understand what their what their type of home is, what they're looking for, and then make a recommendation to the right HVAC contractor. So I think we have a couple that serve the Kingston region, and so if you're interested, happy to chat and make that recommendation to you. The next question is regarding from Andrea Payne. Are the grants available for those just outside the Kingston area, Harrowsmith? So I don't know, Cedric, you want to speak about?
Yeah, so the Better Homes Kingston program, that one's only for people who are paying their property tax to the city of Kingston. However, the Canada Greener Homes program is eligible for anyone within Canada as long as it is your primary residence. Also, if you're an Enbridge gas customer, there's additional Enbridge programs that are also available, which can also be combined with the other programs mentioned. So there's definitely a program out there for you.
And Cedric, if I can just add, so Sustainable Kingston, following our merger with Red Squirrel Conservation Services, are now offering home energy auditing services for Harrowsmith and really everywhere between Trenton and Cornwall. So that's something that I know we need to make sure we get the word out about. I mean, we're called Sustainable Kingston, but we do have the service that we provide for Southeastern Ontario.
That's fantastic. James Phillip asks, is the presentation deck we just went through available to download view after this webinar? So I believe you're recording this, Cedric. I don't know, what are your plans? Do you make this recording available? What are your plans there?
I'll let Jeff answer that one.
Yeah, if we've got your blessings, Richard and Tim, we'll put this up on our YouTube channel, and we can either make that public or private through a password. But yeah, if you're okay with it, then we're happy to share it.
Absolutely.
Great.
No, that would be fine. And you know, if you want a copy or you want to talk some more, please send me a note. Happy to kind of walk through it again for anyone interested. Okay, Michelle Val asks, what is the price difference between a regular heat pump and a cold climate heat pump? Great question. And I hate saying it depends, but it depends. And what it really depends on is the size. But you know, if you're thinking about an air conditioner, like kind of a typical air conditioner, and you are a similar size heat pump that can deliver the same cooling, you're talking about a roughly kind of $2,000 to $4,000, really $3,000 incremental cost. That's the difference. If you're going to a cold climate, I don't know, the price goes up from there. I don't know, Tim, do you want to kind of throw out a round number? What would be the incremental on a cold climate?
Yeah, so there are really two ways to go about it. One, the one thing that homeowners have to do first is the size, the classic heat pump, if I can call it that, should be sized to the cooling load, so that when it's running in cooling mode in the summer, you don't make it a meat locker in the home. To reach that peak heating needs beyond what the core heat pump can do, what you get into, and this can be eligible under the Greening House program, is you get into an air handler. So in other words, it'll be a replacement to the home's current air handler, and they will have, as Richard had indicated, usually a series of resistive heaters in there. And the incremental cost on there is between that and the air conditioner. Actually, that wasn't even the question, but that and say let's call it a classic air source heat pump, a cold one that can take the full load in its kind of heat pump mode or whatever. It's far cheaper to do it with the resistive heaters that are stageable. You could be looking at a factor of, and again, it depends on a lot of things. It could be a factor of 2 in terms of price. So it really depends on the home. And as I said, what you want to do is you want to make sure that whatever system you put in, that you size it so that the cooling load to start with is managed. As I said, you don't want to turn the house into a meat locker. Yeah.
So Michelle, I think that's the thing. Like, there's the actual heat pump itself. If you want to go cold climate, there's the heat pump itself, but then you're going to need to replace your furnace with an air handler. And so and usually they're paired. So it's it starts getting more expensive.
Yeah. But just to clarify, you are now far more likely to be in eligibility territory of the greener home and presumably the better Kingston. So that's definitely on the deck for sure.
And I don't want to, I'm not discouraging anyone who wants to go cold climate. I think it's fantastic. If you wanted to go cold climate and, find an all electric solution for your heating, that's great. But there are other things that need to happen in your house to accommodate that. And so if you are going to go down that road, I strongly recommend you get a few different contractors in there and get a second opinion, third opinion, and go with the contractor that you like the most and has the most reasonable plan put together, because there is an education component that you're going to get, and each contractor you speak with, you'll learn a little bit more, and that'll increase your chances that you'll end up with a solution that you'll be happy with in the end.
I'll just add there to the contractor piece through the Better Homes Kingston program. The city is delivering contractor training, specialized contractor training, and a lot of that is focused on heat pump sizing. Actually, National Resources Canada, the ones that are delivering the heat pump or the Greener Homes program, do have a sizing tool for heat pumps that is highly encouraged to be used by all the contractors, and we are definitely promoting that tool within our program. And as well, that also ties into the question earlier with regards to sharing lists of qualified contractors, at least here within the Kingston area. So that is something that we would also be able to assist with as well. On the other topic, on again the price difference between regular heat pumps and cold climate heat pumps, again, as Richard said, it does depend, and there are other factors in place, but there isn't a cost increase there. I do know there are some customers that were able to find a matching set and actually having a cold climate heat pump and still maintaining a natural gas or even a propane furnace. So there are ways that they can be matched. I will admit there are few options. There aren't too many in that category, but again, that's something that we will help you work together with and figure out which one is best. And one thing to note, a lot of this presentation was focused on natural gas to heat pumps, but a lot of our clients are rural and don't actually have access to natural gas. I don't know if any of you on the call fall into that category, but the economics are actually significantly better when you're looking at transitioning from oil to a heat pump or propane to a heat pump. So that the economics become even more attractive when you're not on natural gas.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're on heating oil or propane, definitely this is a solution that you could save quite a bit of money, and you'd be looking at a payback less than 10 years depending on what system you implement. Yeah, propane is definitely expensive, and it's not getting any cheaper.
Great. I just put for those interested the link to the Better Homes Kingston program in the chat. Also, the Sustainable Kingston Energy Services. Also, if you're looking for those links. Does anyone have any other questions? And you're welcome to unmute yourself too, if that's if you'd prefer that, or you can write a question in the chat. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I think we could probably say goodbye and make you've got another 20 minutes in your lunch break if you haven't already made lunch. And I see Richard has put his email in the chat. Thank you very much, Richard and Tim, for helping set this up. We learned a lot. This, as we mentioned, this has been recorded, and we will put it on the Sustainable Kingston YouTube channel. Please feel free to give us a call if you have any questions about not just the Better Homes Kingston program, but any other project with regards to sustainability in Kingston. We have our Sustainability.eco program, which is now over 60 members, 60 businesses and organizations in Kingston that are striving to reduce their carbon footprint. And we're active with a lot of other events, including Pitchin, which is happening right now. So there's lots of ways to get involved with regards to sustainability here in Kingston, and we welcome your input. So thank you again, Richard and Tim, for taking part in this and for presenting the presentation. And yeah, we hope to have you back again in another time.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.